You bring your phone everywhere. Work, school, the movies. Now you can bring it to an Xfinity store for an easy way to switch to Xfinity Mobile, a new kind of network designed to save you money. You can get up to 5 lines of talk and text included with Xfinity Internet at no extra cost, so all you pay for is data. It's never been easier to switch to Xfinity Mobile and keep the phone you love. Click here to see how. Sorry, I gotta take this. Restrictions apply. Limited to select mobile phones. Requires activation of a new line of Xfinity Mobile. Up to 5 devices per account. New Xfinity Internet customers limited to up to 2 lines pending activation of Internet service.
This is the actual thing. The government will shut down the veterans' home if the mayor does not publicly apologize for putting up Christmas decorations. That's like something I say after 3 tabs of ecstasy. That's a sentence that comes out of my mouth. 3 tabs in, someone's like, Eli, I think you're good on 2. And I'm like, nah, man, if the mayor doesn't apologize, they're going to shut down all the veterans' homes.
God-awful movies. Welcome back to the GAMcast, where each week we sample another selection from Christian cinema in an effort to justify taking all these painkillers. I'm your host, Noah Lugeons. Sitting to my immediate left is my good friend Heath Enwright. Heath, welcome back.
Thank you, sir.
And sitting 2,867 miles to my west-northwest this time is my bad friend Eli Bosnick. Eli, good of you to reach across so many time zones to be here, sir.
There's not enough legal weed in the universe to dull the pain of this movie.
And joining us for the first time is comedian and special guest masochist Micah Sherman. Micah was recently in the acclaimed series High Maintenance. He now has a new sketch comedy album available on iTunes called John Rogers: Idiot. And Eli swears that he agreed to do this voluntarily. Micah, welcome to God Awful Movies.
It is my voluntary pleasure.
So before we talk about how bad this movie was, I guess we need everybody to know what this movie was. So Heath, tell us, what are we breaking down today?
We've got Last Ounce of Courage. It's an interesting project. It's basically the story of the Grinch Who Stole Christmas, but told through the eyes of the mayor of Whoville, who also happens to be a Vietnam vet with severe PTSD. And also, instead of the Grinch, the bad guy is a lawyer from the ACLU who outlawed Christianity, I guess, at least according to the mayor's hallucinations.
I think he's going to be the Antichrist in part 2. But now, Mike, I'm going to give everybody a shot at this, but you're our guest, so you get first crack. How bad was this movie?
I'm going to give it 2 thumbs up. I loved it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, God, he went through to the other side. Micah just spends the entire time complimenting the movie through tears.
Yeah, no, guys, Jesus is pretty awesome, you know?
I should start by saying that I'm an atheist, and I have been for years. But the music was good. I enjoyed the lead actor who played Bob. And I also liked Reagan. She was not a principal character, but she was a fun actress in the Christmas pageant or winter space pageant.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah,
Very important
weird
distinction.
Yeah. Well, exactly. we'll get to all of that, I'm sure. So, Heath, would you care to summarize the misery with a clever analogy of any kind?
All right. So, you know how Atlas Shrugged is a great work of literature?
No.
But you know, I feel like it's missing that one critical element. Well, this movie realized that the missing element was Jesus, and they ran with it. It's that good.
I see. It's like Ayn Rand, but also Christian. Awesome. And Eli, how would you describe Last Ounce of Courage's overall entertainment value?
Well, you know how at Thanksgiving you've always wished that your racist drunk uncle had his own movie company? That's what you get with Last Ounce of Courage. If he was just like, and another thing, Obama, who's a Muslim, by the way, .com, Muslim.com, but he just had $1 million to make a terrible movie of everything that came out of his face. Like if the guys from Sears and Roebuck were just sitting next to him writing down everything he said, fucking Jews papers. And I have to say, I believe that this is the worst movie ideologically we have ever done.
Oh, yeah.
Easily.
I would agree with that. And what struck me most within the movie was the absurd judiciary universe that we were supposed to keep up with. Okay, so just a couple of quick examples. In this movie, a kid can get suspended from school for having a Bible in his locker.
False.
A church can't have a cross on it if anybody is offended by that.
False.
And you're not allowed to put Christmas decorations on your lawn. So I ask you guys, what fucking dimension did this movie take place in?
Yeah, this is like someone was like, because if we've ever had an internet fight, this is what every other person on the internet seems to think what atheists want is like, I bet if you had your way, you'd make Christmas decorations illegal and Bibles, it wouldn't be allowed into the school. That's what you want. And you're like, no, man, this isn't anything close to what I want.
I will say this. If a movie needs to take, let's say it's a 3-act piece, yep. It's a 90-minute piece. The first 2 acts were exposition.
Exactly.
If you need a full hour to set up the world in which your movie exists, ideologically it's probably waning in some areas.
Yeah, exactly.
But that last act, you guys, woo! I had goosebumps throughout the entire thing. I mean, I bought right in.
If Mad Max can set you up in 5 minutes into a post-apocalyptic Australian wasteland where water pours out of the sky, and and Furiosa is in charge of a truck army, but they needed 90 minutes to be like, wait, but you have to understand here, Christmas, but then also they're fighting in a wreck.
Nativity scene on your lawn.
Let me go out on a limb here, guys. I liked Last Ounce of Courage more than Mad Max Fury Road.
Whoa.
Strong statements.
I'm really hoping this doesn't turn into a men's right. Because,
guys, I didn't
All that
mention
feminist
Micah's
bullshit, right?
Micah is Polly Lamb. This is just Polly Lamb's real name is Micah Sherman.
I'd love to give you a chance to justify that, or was that just a general statement about Mad Max?
Oh, I didn't enjoy Mad Max that much. But I did. I really, really did. I had goosebumps for the entire last half an hour of Last Ounce of Courage. I'm not proud of that, but that is a true thing.
My skin broke out, so that's kind of the same. Now,
Yeah, exactly.
I will say, like any classic work of cinema, what you really need to sell a movie is a phenomenal villain, and damn did we have one in this. The villain in this movie was played by blaxploitation legend Fred Williamson. Apparently his back child support caught up with him, and he agreed to play the part of the evil ACLU lawyer Warren Hammerschmidt, aka the Hammer, and he was fucking awesome. If I ever sue anybody for loving Jesus, I want him representing me.
Excuse me, this is the Hammer. Are you a lawyer? Yes. You're a lawyer who calls yourself the Hammer. I mean,
I'm a wrestler on the side.
now that you say it, I feel silly. I feel like that was a poor choice. Anyways, this is Warren Hammerschmidt. Can I talk to someone? No, because you called yourself the Hammer. Click.
Yeah, the character names were a little heavy-handed, particularly Christian.
Yeah, Christian, the grandson, and then the mayor's name is Bob Revere.
Yeah.
Yes. They went with Paul originally, and then they said, guys, no, you gotta just make him Bob or something.
Yeah, guys, let's keep it subtle. Let's call him Bob Revere. That way, later on, people will be like, oh, Revere. I get it. Clever. Half the people on set were like, I don't get it. What's reverie? No, you're spelling. It's fine.
So, now, I will say, the whole thing with the kid being named Christian just rolled off my back. You might not know this, Mike. I'm hoping you haven't watched as many of these as we have, but there's almost always a character named Christian in there somewhere.
Yeah, exactly.
This might be our first Reagan, though. This might be our first Reagan character.
Yeah.
It's exciting.
Oh, I didn't even put those together. Oh boy.
That's because you're not the target demographic for this film.
Yeah. Boy, Reagan was great though. Sarah McMullen. Look out for her. But I'm with you. If anybody is to get an award for this movie, it has got to be Fred Williamson. That guy was phenomenal.
He can smoke a cigar at you in the most intimidating way. possible. It's really impressive. Well, now, of course, we do say Jesus in this podcast, which means that it's only a matter of time before the ACLU comes through and tries to shut us down. So quick while we can, we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we'll discuss what I need an ounce of to make it through Last Ounce of Courage. As we'll learn in a moment, a big part of this movie revolves around an illegal effort to present Jesus' origin story in a public school play. The blatant illegality of this move is excused within the universe of this movie by Bob Revere telling his cronies that it's perfectly legal to teach, quote, an objective lesson on the origin of Christmas, end quote, in a public school. And while that is true, it may surprise Bob to learn that the nativity story is not, in fact, the objective origin of Christmas. And while I could demonstrate that by actually telling you that story, it just so happens that I've got somebody a bit more qualified to take care of that for me. Run grab the young'uns, folks. It's time for Lucinda Lugeons Bible Stories for Kids.
Gather round, boys and girls. As you know, Mayor Revere has asked me to give you an objective lesson on the origin of Christmas. So here we go. Thousands of years ago, when we were all much, much closer to filthy monkey men, a bunch of farmers knew it was about to get cold. So they found the tree that didn't look like it was dying and danced around it and asked for magic powers. They did this every winter, and since not everybody died, they were like, holy shit, let's do this forever. And since it's winter sometime over most of the world, everybody had their own little dance around in a circle time. Thousands of years later, the Roman Empire arose and massacred a bunch of people and erased their cultures from the history books. But they liked the dance around the tree part, so they kept it and folded it into a celebration that involved teasing slaves with a hint of freedom for the day, and lots of fucking. And then, even more thousands of years later, there may or may not have been a guy named Jesus who was killed in a failed revolution in Jerusalem. But his followers continued to wander around telling more and more exaggerated stories about their martyred leader. Finally, about another 1,000 years after that, the emperor decided to differentiate himself from his father and the surrounding territories by finding a wacky new belief system to fight under. And he did, and he won! Hooray! Then, a few hundred years after that, they had a big meeting to decide by a vote what the perfect word of God was. And they chose Dance Around the Tree Day as their newly anointed God myth's birthday, because go fuck yourself. And so it was until a Jewish guy at an advertising firm decided he could boost Coca-Cola sales by using a character based on an 1822 poem by a guy who was probably a pedophile. The end.
And we're back for the breakdown of a film that starts with an American flag and a military drum roll and just gets more jingoistic from there. In fact, just to make sure that you know right away that you're watching porn for impotent Republicans, we're going to start the proceedings on a Ronald Reagan quote. And not a pithy one either, quite an extensive Ronald Reagan scare tactic quote.
I wrote in my notes, could they not get rights to a Hitler quote? They could not have chosen a more fear-mongering and damaging quote to start this movie.
Terrible.
Honestly, it could have just been like, kill him all, Ronald Reagan.
And then we get the title screen that looks like it's from fucking American Gladiators.
Yeah, I wrote in my notes, this title screen looks like I should be getting car insurance from the general. Get from a quote and save some time with a penguin and everyone's flying. That commercial doesn't make any sense. I was like, oh, cool. They got the same graphics guy. Nice.
So the little home movie montage that we're getting is typical Americana story that this kid is growing up with his buddy and he's going to get married and then he's going to go off to war.
I wanted there to be a home movie where they're all playing and he's like, no, you're going to die in a war. Am not, R2. You're going to die serving our country. Won't.
Okay, I'll say this. As far as movie structure goes, I thought the whole opening montage was unnecessary. If we're going to take a look at this cinematically, we could have started with the funeral.
Right. Yes, absolutely. Yes, we're going to be able to plug in things like, oh, his dad must have been fond of him. You know, we don't need to see that beforehand.
Right. Well, if we don't care about Stifler before he dies, by the way, the actor who plays the son looks exactly like Stifler. So in my mind, the entire time I waited for that character to be like, I'm gonna fuck Stifler's mom. Him to have a dance off with a gay guy in a club.
That would have been nice.
Yeah.
You guys were missing my favorite part.
Which is?
Old Jesus.
Yes, yes, he sneaks by there. I wrote geriatric Aaron Ra sneaks by on the bus scene in my notes there.
Who is this? Is this Willie Nelson?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Willie Nelson.
Are we talking about miraculous Willie
Yeah,
Nelson?
he sneaks by right in the back.
Yeah, Sam Elliott with a goatee.
That's him.
Also, one other note. When they're seeing the kid off on the bus, this is the first time we see his vest, which has a anti-666 badge on it. On his jean vest, which he wears through most of the movie, the topmost button is like a no smoking sign, but instead of a cigarette, there's 666 inside the button. That's the level of stupidity you can come to expect from this film.
And by the way, it says Satan sucks right above it. That's what it says. It says Satan sucks, the crossed out 666. Yeah.
I honestly, I should have spent more time looking at the dude's flair. He
get
did
that
have
one?
a lot of flair, though. He was an achiever.
You get that one for tying a bull in and exercising a demon.
Exactly.
Killing
exactly.
a Mexican motorcycle gang.
And then we're on to yet more useless exposition, this time done in a series of videos that the kid's sending to them from war, and they're sending letters to him or whatever.
I also want to point out, he's fighting a war in Sepia Land, apparently. Over here, we don't get all the colors. Just gray and brown and darker gray. Also, the set is so terrible. It is so clearly shot in a paintball center.
Right.
He appears to be stationed in a slaughterhouse and having a paintball fight. And in all of the shots of them using their machine guns, they could not less be using them the way machine guns are used. They're basically holding them backwards and riding them like broomsticks. That's how little. So I lower myself slowly onto it, right? That's how this. I don't know.
What was tough for me is, I liked the last act so much that all of this unnecessary stuff, I'll give it to him if it's necessary, if it's the magic of Hollywood, we need this scene, but, a lot of these scenes weren't needed.
Yeah, I would say the vast majority of scenes in this movie weren't needed. Basically anywhere where the hot mom wasn't on stage. And then I want to point out this line too, because so we get the shot where like the son dies now and we're back hanging out with the family. And the voiceover, the dad says, "I'll never forget the sound of that doorbell." It's like it was just doorbell sounding.
Yeah,
bro,
it's your doorbell.
Right,
It's like
right.
ding dong.
You've lived in that house for like 30 years now.
Mildly ominous, maybe. Yeah.
And then, of course, we get the same funeral shot that you get in every Christian movie, and magical Aaron Ra is sitting in the background somewhere. Also, is it just me, or did the camera spend an awful lot of time lingering on characters we hadn't met at this funeral?
Yeah, totally. Because there were so few cast members that they could get for the funeral shot that they were just like, I know, we'll just really focus on these three guys.
I reckon
for as long as
some
possible.
of whom you'll meet eventually.
Well, guys, that's foreshadowing.
Oh, sorry.
It's foreshadowing that we're going to see some people later.
Oh, gotcha.
It's a device. Okay.
And so that we know how depressed and torn up Bob is, by the way, we get a shot of Bob like covering up. Bob has a very sweet motorcycle. He's got a very sweet Harley. And we get a shot of him covering it up because he just doesn't want to live anymore now that his son's dead. And he covers it up with an American flag. This fucking movie had flags made up of smaller flags. There were so many fucking... Captain America would have been like, guys, this is a little heavy-handed here.
Yeah, to be clear about this scene, he takes the full-sized American flag off of his motorcycle, folds it up, puts it among his tools, and then covers his motorcycle with a different American flag. This is a two American flag scene.
Guys, if you are the owner of an American flag, you are also the owner of an additional American flag.
Yeah, that's true. That's true, yes.
And I think that's a true statement for anyone in the United States who has an American flag. You own American flags.
It's like tattoos. Once you get one...
Yeah, no one has just one American flag.
I will say this, guys. The funeral scene may have been a little bit lacking, but this was a budget of $1.5 million. So
They doubled the money.
500,000 of that is going towards flags.
Yeah.
We know that. That leaves us $1 million to get a crane to pull a cross up on a building.
Right.
That leaves $100,000 for
Fred Williamson's
Fred
prostitutes.
Williamson's Warren Hammerschmidt.
Yeah.
Right. And everyone else worked for indulgences.
Yeah, and we're mocking this right now, but this movie doubled its money.
Yes, it did. It did. Yes.
This movie made $3 million plus at the box office.
Mm-hmm.
That's not even counting the money that we put towards it through Netflix to watch it.
I watched it on YouTube, but yeah.
That's really...
I will say, honestly, as bad as the script is for this movie, I kept expecting the acting to be worse. It's like, judging by the script, this movie should have had like Miracle Man level acting, and instead it had Left Behind level acting. I was impressed.
It was well acted garbage.
Yeah, more or less. I mean, there were a couple of actors in there that you had to kind of laugh at, but more or less it was okay.
That's more than can be said for Mad Max Fury Road.
Hey, Tom Hardy is the most talented motherfucker working in Hollywood, man. Watch Locke and tell me that guy can't act. Sorry.
Yeah.
You're getting on my man crush right there.
That lady shot her dad.
So
she shot her dad, guys. Google it. She shot her dad.
So anyway, so speaking of getting shot, I love this scene, and this scene honestly almost made the movie worthwhile to me. So we meet Bob 14 years later, and apparently he's a pharmacist and also a surgeon occasionally, as we learn when these three bikers come in. One of them's been shot. They come into the pharmacy to have the bullet removed.
Yes, and this biker gang consists of the head of this biker gang is a midget, and one of the other people's is a giant. So we have a giant and a midget. Those are the two people in this motorcycle gang.
Yes.
And I just wrote in my notes, they lift the midget up onto the counter. Oh, thank you. I also, when he says that he's going to fix him up, I wrote, the pharmacist is going to give you stitches, and then the bagger at the supermarket's going to replace your liver.
Right. So, again, what dimension is this?
My father was drafted to Vietnam. If you were in the Vietnam War, you know how to do anything.
Oh, I see.
Absolutely.
You know how to use a jigsaw.
Yeah.
You know how to ride a motorcycle. Mm-hmm. You know how to do back alley surgery.
Yep.
You know how to do heavy construction by yourself.
Yes, absolutely. You know how to make a church cross attach itself to a connection.
Precisely.
That's a nifty trick.
You know how to be the mayor of an entire town.
Yeah. So then the daughter-in-law and the grandson, Christian, are there for Christmas.
Actually, they're moving in. It doesn't tell you that. You think they're there for Christmas, but if he's there for Christmas, he's going to school there. So,
I thought he was just there for Christmas, and I didn't understand why he was going to school there. I have a whole bunch of notes about why this kid is just
they don't
visiting
bother
and
to
starts
tell
to
you
go to
that.
a different school.
And also, of course, like every Christian and every Christian fucking movie we've ever seen, Bob keeps a sadness box in his garage.
You need a sadness box.
That he occasionally just looks through when he wants to feel sad or when we need an intro to a montage. And now Christian finds it.
Yeah, when kids go snooping around in the sadness box, you gotta bark at them.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the only reason to keep it in plain sight like that.
Right.
Unlocked. If you don't want people to look at it, burn it.
Or put it in a fucking closet at least. Now, so he opens it up and he sees a bunch of videos and he's like, hey, Grandpa, can I watch these videos? And then Grandpa pulls one. He says, you can watch those videos, but not this one. This one is for Act 3.
Yeah. And I wrote in my notes, please be homemade porn. Please be homemade porn. Please be homemade porn. I wanted so badly for the last video the kid pops in for it just to be the mom and Stifler. Just like, who's daddy's girl? Who's daddy's girl? All right.
I wanted that
You can continue
too.
the Christmas pageant now. I'm going to go throw up in that closet. No, keep playing the video.
And then, part of this video includes a little, a Christmas play or whatever. And so the son, Christian, goes, Why don't people do Christmas like that anymore with shepherds and stuff? That's actually the line that was in the script. To which Bob says, well, for years, people have been trying to outlaw Christmas.
Shepherds are illegal now, thanks to this black lawyer that we're going to get to.
Yeah, it's like, what?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, what universe do these people live in where there's not a Christmas pageant fucking everywhere?
Right. And then, of course, when they're talking about Christmas being outlawed, Grandpa does the title drop.
Yeah, I wrote, they said the name of the movie.
That's also on Christian movie bingo right
They
there.
also said No Greater Love earlier, so new game. Catch them all.
Oh.
Yeah.
Exactly. See, they're all part of the same universe, guys. It's like Marvel.
There's like
a
12
crossover.
phrases. There's like 12 phrases you can use in this universe. Yeah, they'll hit them all.
So when the name of the title of the movie is dropped, people furiously masturbate, because that's what I was doing.
That's how you play.
Yeah.
That's the game.
Yes.
You got it.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
and you got to
great.
finish by the time they get to the end of the sentence.
Done and done.
Yeah, I mean, Last Ounce of Courage is a pretty long phrase.
Yeah.
I went twice.
Yeah, this
so
is a
then
very
Chris-
sticky movie for me.
Chris sneaks into the sadness box and steals his dad's Bible like it's weed.
Yes.
Like you're stealing some of your older brother's weed out of his room. You're like, oh man, I hope no one catches me. Oh yeah, Corinthians. Yeah. I'm going to take this out into the woods and read it.
And that's where we meet Chris's love interest.
Yeah, I have this character as baby Ronda Rousey in my notes.
Okay,
She
all
has
right.
a strong jaw, my friend. She has a strong jaw. This is a girl who's like, you want a hand job? And you're like, oh, no, thank you. No, thank you.
Can I get an
I like
arm
my
bar?
dick
Yeah.
attached to my torso. So then he's told he cannot have his dad's medal because it goes back into this sadness box. And I wrote in my notes, this movie so far is 90% hug flashbacks. This is just 90% of people hugging people who are no longer with us.
That was an awful lot of it. And then we get to meet our dead dad's best friend / cop / new love interest for Mom. And it's very clear right away because in Christian movies, it's just like, oh, you're a man. I'm a woman. I want to fuck you. And, you know.
Yeah.
Except
I
for
wrote in
they
my
never
notes,
fuck. I mean, I want to
She
marry
says,
you.
you want to stay for some brownies? And I wrote, and some pussy.
Yeah, she made it very clear.
Jesus Christ! What the fuck? It was a lot more innocent than that, and they had a lot of chemistry.
They did. Honestly, like, I wouldn't have minded watching a movie about those two characters, you know, if we removed all the silly Christian shit.
Also, I just want to throw out there, she and him have that sort of sexual tension-filled conversation, and then she sort of has that snap out of it moment where she's like, oh, does anyone want some brownies? And I just wrote, here, have some brownies while I go change my lower clothes because they are soaking wet.
Jesus Christ! Come on, man!
Keep
We
it
got kids
wholesome,
listening
Eli.
to this.
That was not the subtext of that scene.
That was the subtext of that scene. So now we're going to move on to...
You're outvoted, America.
Yeah.
She's a squirter. It's true.
Um,
It's in the script.
Jesus.
It was in the script.
So now we're going to
Subtle,
move
but-
on to another wholesome part of the film. This would be the first day of school, and he's like all upset, and she goes to talk to him. She's like, I'm in trouble. And I'm like, oh my God, it's going to be for bringing that fucking Bible to school, isn't it? That's what he's in trouble for, isn't it?
But see,
it
the
is.
principal put the brown bag on the desk, and I was like, is that weed? I'm super into Chris now.
Okay,
I
so-
had this whole transformative moment where I was like, this is great. I'm really excited that this is drugs. Because they're talking about it like it's drugs.
Right. Who carries a Bible around in a brown paper bag? Why would you
I think
ever
they-
do that?
No, I think the principal put it in the brown paper bag so he wouldn't have to look at its evil visage or whatever. But so
It was
yeah.
also like burlap. It was like a burlap, like...
Yeah, he double bagged it. He triple bagged it. He was like, I don't know, I can still kind of see the cover.
like the anal retentive chef or
Some
something.
lead around it to prevent the
I really
radioactivity.
wanted Bill Murray to walk into the scene for the principal to go, Phil? Phil Connor?
Ned Ryerson?
He looks so much like Ned Ryerson.
He really does. He really does.
I really like this actor. I thought he was a lot of fun.
He was my
Yeah,
favorite
the
actor in the movie, actually.
Yeah, the actors that I enjoyed in this movie were the drama teacher and the principal.
Oh, the drama teacher was so good.
He was excellent.
Drama teacher was we're going to get to it in a
excellent.
second. The drama teacher was fucking fantastic.
Yeah,
And he
the
was
drama
acceptable because he was not out of the closet.
Exactly.
Yeah,
He's
exactly.
a gay Stephen King. We'll get to him.
So
It's fun.
now I want to make sure, because I don't want to just glaze over this. This is pretty important to the film. The scene that we're in with the brown paper bag with the Bible in it. Okay, so this kid they found a Bible in his locker, and now they've called his parents, his grandparents, and fucking, whatever is third cousin twice removed in.
And the police.
And the police!
was in there.
He's consulted with the district lawyer. Yeah.
I assume they had some kind of bomb disposal unit that got the Bible out of his locker. They got a fucking robot and a remote control.
Hazmat team, yeah.
Some guy dressed like Channing Tatum, all marshmallowed out.
I'm glad that this scene was so early in the movie, though, because that let us know what kind of world we were in, and that made the third act, which was dynamite, pretty easy to chew.
So they're walking out of the school, and he's like, "Well, yeah, ever since they banned prayer in schools." I'm like, when the fuck did they? What world is it? Anyway, so they come across the janitor, who is the magic black man of the movie.
Who is the first black character we have met in this film. That's important to remember. That we are now 185 hours into this film, and the first black character we meet is the janitor.
Yep, and we will not meet another one, but he's a magic janitor, and he lets him know that there ain't no rule that you can't bring your Bible to school.
Right. And when he said that, I wrote in my note, there's no rule that says a Bible can't play basketball, because I want that movie. There's nothing in the rule book that says a Bible can't play basketball. Air Bud, but it's a Bible. Just a Bible sitting in the corner of the court, and they pass it off it, and it slam dunks the ball, and it's like, thanks, Bible.
We're gonna have that on Kickstarter.
This was a problematic aspect of the world for me. Later, we learned that the janitor was working right alongside Bob Revere
in the war.
Vietnam.
Yeah.
He was there the whole time. Cut to 50 years later, he's a janitor.
And the white
Bob
guy's the
Revere's
mayor.
the fucking mayor.
Yes.
Can we address this? Is there anybody? Did that hit with anybody?
Well, he's black. Micah, he's black.
So
That's
many stereotypes at once. They're standing there like, there's no rule against Bible. Let's ask this wise black janitor. Excuse me, sir, wise black guy. Are Bibles banned from school? And he's like, well, I'd be happy to answer that question for you. Let me just finish this piece of cornbread and put down the shoe shine kit I was holding. There ain't no rule.
He knows the answer, and then Bob Revere's like, well, thank you very much, Charlie. And then, why the fuck are you talking to me like that? We're friends, man. We've known each other for 50 years.
Right.
Remember,
Why you just,
remember when we
writing
were
me
in
off?
war together?
Yeah.
Make eye contact with me.
Not just that,
he's
but
black, Micah.
he is the only person who survived the mission
Right.
that was the end of his military career. This is like if Private Ryan ran into Tom Hanks in a hallway and was just like, "Sup, dude, what's going on?" Not much. Listen, I gotta get my kid home. All right,
Been like
see you,
40
man.
years, so see you.
Thanks for coming and saving me in Germany. All right, he's gone.
And then we cut to the family sitting around home watching the O'Reilly Factor. Yes.
Right.
The Bill O'Reilly Factor is on the TV, and we watch it for a long fucking time. It's not just
we
on
watch
in the
almost
background.
a full episode.
Pretty
and
much,
also,
yes.
they could not find a cohesive long clip of the O'Reilly Factor that was as crazy as the point of this movie. So they had to cut together the O'Reilly Factor where he's like, Christmas is being outlawed in Texas.
I love the moment too when Christian reaches up to turn off the O'Reilly Factor, and everybody looks at him like, "Ah!
Right.
What are we gonna do now?
He's the homicide
each other?
drone. Shoot him dead.
Oh no! I shot my third
You
nipple."
put on MSNBC, we will kill you.
So they're watching this whole Bill O'Reilly thing about how all the evil atheists are trying to steal Christmas.
I feel like
fucking
this movie
kid turns
could've
to his
ended
grandpa
right
in the middle
there
of this
if
and
the
says,
grandfather
I shit you
had
not. What did my dad die for?
Hey, what did my dad die
As if
for?
to imply
He turns straight at him
that
and
his
goes,
dad went to war to defend Christmas.
And
Yeah.
I feel like this movie could have ended right there if the grandfather had it was like, hey, what did my dad die for? And he turns straight at him and goes, oil.
Yeah.
End credits.
Yes, right.
Dick Cheney and Halliburton. End credits.
So, but no, apparently the real war was to defend the rights of people to celebrate Christmas, and so they have this big moment where the son like calls grandpa out, or the grandson, and he's like, well, why aren't you doing anything about it to save Christmas, grandpa?
I'm just one pharmacist, mayor, surgeon over here. I don't know if I can do anything
What
from
am I
where
gonna
I'm
do?
standing.
What am I doing? I'm riding my motorcycle all over this grand country of ours.
Inspiring patriotism with my full-sized American flag.
Gigantic fucking flag that hangs off the back of his bike.
Have you seen the flare on my jean vest?
What the fuck are you doing, Christian? I have buttons about Satan. I say Satan sucks on my jean vest. How much shit do you talk about Satan in your outfit?
But the kids aren't willing to accept that, so they're going to go rogue and decorate the house for Christmas. We get this whole big scene where they're in their attic. They're like, I want to do something crazy. I want to say fuck the system. I want to hang up reindeer. I'm a fucking rebel.
Let the secularists come. See what they do. We're putting it up.
Let's put up Christmas decorations. Stay golden, pony boy. Stay golden.
So now we go to Grandpa, and Grandpa's wrestling with his conscience, and he's talking to his wife and saying stuff like, "Do you ever think you'd see a time when people would be offended by Christmas?" And in the middle of this, he says, "You remember that old 10 Commandments plaque that used to sit on the courthouse wall?" Like, just conflates that with having Christmas decorations on your fucking lawn. This movie does so much of that shit. Just it'll have a list of stuff that is like, nobody gives a shit, nobody gives a shit, nobody gives a shit. The fucking founders made sure to specifically forbid that in the Constitution. Nobody gives a shit, nobody gives a shit, nobody gives a shit.
Do you remember those beautiful paper decorations we used to put up, and then that swastika that I painted on the water tower?
You got all freaked out about it.
It's like, wait, what was that middle one? The paper decorations. You know, a little chain, you make a circle, and then you glue it to the other circle. No, the other one. Oh, yeah, the swastika. Ah, the old swastika. How the Jews would run. At which point he has a time to get out my motorcycle montage.
Yes.
He's like, you know, I've got to do something. And that something is to ride around on his motorcycle some more.
And I wrote in my notes at this point, this is what Walter Sobchak jerks off to. This scene right here. Because the drums start, and he puts a giant American flag on his fucking bike and just starts driving around.
I swear if he gets joined by a wounded veteran on a different motorcycle with a different American flag, I'm going to goop all over my keyboard. So he basically gives a speech where this is the first of his speeches where he like tells us things that everybody with a fucking brain knows, which is Christmas is a national holiday. A teacher is allowed to teach the objective truth about the origins of Christmas, which, oh my God, I want to see that. I want to see an objective truth on the origins of Christmas. So then you see, kids, at the Council of Nicaea, everyone decided which was the Word of God. And wouldn't you know it, they got it 100% right. They voted, and they voted on all the Word of God. But then, in the 1950s, a Jew based a poem on a pedophile about Christmas that he was trying to use to sell Coca-Cola. And so anyways, that's the story of Christmas. Why are you all crying?
I don't think that is necessarily legal. I would like to see a teacher teach the objective truth about the origins of Christmas. Like, everyone here has heard of Stonehenge, right? Now, the Vikings came from Scandinavia.
Exactly.
So what's going on here now is that Bob has opened up the old storage locker where all the city's Christmas decorations are just apparently growing mold and fucking rat shit, because they don't decorate for Christmas. So now he's going to take all these decorations out of storage and put them up by himself apparently, with a fucking cherry picker. But he has to stop and give everybody this patriotic, I got on the internet and learned the law speech. He actually says that. He's like, I got on the internet and learned all about this. I'm like, you're the fucking mayor. You're the fucking mayor of a town,
Right.
and your legal counsel is I got on the internet. You're mayoring through LegalZoom.
And who will be representing you? Google.
right.
Yeah. So, guys, I did some research. I got on the internet. I watched about 40 hours of knockout compilations, and now I'm putting up all these Christmas decorations.
I learned all about Zeitgeist.
This is another clear PTSD moment from Bob, the reinflated Michael Douglas, whatever. So the reporter's there, and they're like, yeah, could you come down from that cherry picker truck and do an interview with us? And he's like, well, no, I'd like to do it inside the bucket. Could you please just step out of the bucket for the interview? Never leave the trench. He's throwing invisible grenades down at her. He's at a 45-degree angle for the interview. It's ridiculous.
They actually have him leaning out of this fucking cherry picker about 8 feet off the ground holding her fucking microphone. Fucking ridiculous.
So now we cut to the first rehearsal for the school play and the drama teacher, who is my favorite fucking character in this movie.
Fantastic.
His first line is, "Oh, Broadway, you are an elusive mistress," and it gets better from there. Everything this guy... Oh, first of all, this is obviously the funniest person that all of these people know, and he improvised every goddamn line. As an improviser, and
I think
Micah...
so, yes.
Micah, you know this as well, where they're just like, Micah, go! Do something funny. Your character's like this, and you're like, great, I'll do all your writing for you. This is obviously what happened to this guy.
I'm gonna go out and say it. This character gives Christopher Guest a run for his money.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Got a little Tobias Funke in there, too. Yeah, absolutely. Gay Stephen King, put it all rolling up,
So now we're over at, we've got mom, and we got hot mom and grandma, and they're sending out invites for their holiday party.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, there's no RSVP. She's like, there doesn't have to be. Everybody comes to my fucking party, lady. And she's like, oh, but you put Christmas party instead of holiday party. You'll be shot.
Yeah. I wanted a flash cut to the Rosenberg house where a bunch of Jews are just like, well, I guess we're not invited this year. Very nice. Very nice.
Rude.
Do you guys know anybody that is offended when they're wished a Merry Christmas, or even a Happy Hanukkah, or even a Happy Ramadan?
Right.
Nope.
Who is offended?
If you're painting it on the water tower that my tax dollars are paying for, then I'm offended. That's when I get offended.
But not when
if
you
you're
just
just walking
say
by
it
the
to
street
me.
and say Merry Christmas. Yeah, and a Merry Christmas to you too, bro.
Fuck you, it's Happy Holidays.
Fuck you!
An
Now
asshole.
you have to read this Sam Harris book, End of Faith, Chapter 1. We're doing this. No checkout lady at Safeway. Shouldn't have said Merry Christmas if you didn't want to have a discussion. So now we get to the call from the hammer.
Oh my God. I love this fucking guy. So yes, we haven't met our villain yet, but in this movie, the part of evil will be played by Civil Liberties as personified by the hammer.
Yeah.
I love, one of my favorite things in the world is dumb people writing for smart people. Like they have to write the smart person words. And this was the quintessential example of
Yeah.
it.
So before we jump into his phone call, though, can we talk about the establishing shot for this? It seems to be saying that the ACLU has their headquarters in the U.S. Capitol building in D.C.
Yes.
It's not the same. A lawyer from the ACLU is not the Speaker of the House in Congress. He can't just make laws. He wouldn't be in that building in D.C. They have no idea what's happening. in the
there
world.
is a theme of this movie of conflating the ACLU and the government and the health department and just everything.
Yes,
the feds
exactly. It's not-
and the veterans
these are
fund, like
different things.
all of the government and the ACLU. I would not be surprised if they cut to that and he just had all of those signs on his desk. He was like, yep, that's right. And I'm the president too. But they could not understand less about how the ACLU worked. In fact, I was so confused by this that I actually thought, oh, I misunderstood the preview. That is a good character who is calling to help them because they live in a world where Bibles are illegal and the ACLU would support you to bring a Bible wherever the fuck you want to.
So we get he calls up the mayor's office. Mayor's not in, and he goes, is your municipal executive acquainted with the relevant axioms with reference to the perceptual disengagement of tabernacle and governing body?
Per se, ergo, propter hoc.
Guys, this is where Latin kicks in for me. Latin kicks in. I'm ready. Oh, no, we didn't need any? Okay, sorry.
No. So unfortunately, the
Fuck you,
screenwriters
Mr.
could have used
Pendergast.
it, though. So basically what we get here is the ACLU is calling, because apparently they saw that local Mount Columbus news broadcast where he's hanging out of his fucking cherry picker, and they're telling him, hey man, you got to take down the Christmas decorations or we're going to sue you.
Right.
This is Johnny Cochran, right? We're talking John?
Yeah, it's...
Well, yeah, but it's not, though, because he's like an ACLU guy, so he's like actually
in
like...
the writer of this movie's head, Johnny Cochran was the ACLU, and like they just got OJ off because he was black.
Oh, I see.
It's like Johnny Cochran and Al Sharpton, like it's that they're all the same character. They're just like black people who stop us from saying the N-word. That's all represented by this one character.
They did extras casting did go out of their way to have a number of black citizens.
Oh yeah, they're just supposed to sit in the audience and agree with things that are being said by the white people, so it's not as offensive.
Well, we needed some homeless people later too, so they brought them out for that scene as well. So Warren Hammerschmidt apparently is demanding that the mayor publicly apologize for Christmas decorations.
Right, or the government will shut down the veterans' home. This is the actual thing. The government will shut down the veterans' home if the mayor does not publicly apologize for putting up Christmas decorations. That's like something I say after 3 tabs of ecstasy. That's a sentence that comes out of my mouth. 3 tabs in, someone's like, Eli, I think you're good on 2. And I'm like, nah, man, if the mayor doesn't apologize, they're going to shut down all the veterans' homes. Tim O'Leary would have heard that phrase and been like, I don't know, cats and kittens. I think that's a little far out for me.
And so the mayor says to his assistant, he's like, put together one of them press conferences or whatever, and we'll talk about it. So we cut to the press conference, which drew apparently 4 people, where he gives yet another one of these long, like, everyone already knows this shit speeches about how if you're a Muslim, you're allowed to Muslim all over the fucking place. How come Christians can't Christian all over the fucking place?
Oh, here's a problem too that I found with the relatability of Bob's character. He's in his dick mode right now.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
So I was like, this guy's being a dick. He's like, Warren Hammerschmidt comes in and is like, what you're doing is inappropriate. He's like, you know what? You're a liar. Merry Christmas, asshole. I'm out of here!
Yeah, it is, that conversation between the two of them is quite literally, no, I'm not, you are. That is all he said. Warren Hammerschmidt comes in and he's like, yeah, man, you can't do this. This is excluding people. And he's like, am I? Or are you the one who's excluding people? No, it's you.
Yes, definitely.
Still you. Is it though? Yes.
Yeah, and as a viewer, I think we're supposed to be relating with Bob, but I found that difficult. Not because I don't agree with his worldview, but because we've set him up to be a jerk.
Right? Yeah, that's a key element of his personality.
Who wrote this movie?
I just want to touch on a couple of things he says. He says, there's no way that a few old sore heads are going to prevent us from celebrating. And I just wrote in my notes, Jews, Muslims, and atheists equal a few old sore heads.
That's us.
And his allowing of the other religions, he goes, look, if you're a Muslim, feel free to pray in the middle of the town square. And if you're a Jew, display your menorah and blow your shofar. Now, as someone who was born and raised Jewish, you have to understand that would be like saying, and if you're black, eat your watermelon and eat your fried chicken. Rape your white women. Don't think that those are 2 completely unrelated holidays. And they have nothing to do with this.
Yeah, I think Daryl Campbell and Richard Hedrick, I think they may have misspelled towel and spelled it S-O-R-E.
Well done, sir.
Also, I love how he acts like this character would be okay with a Muslim praying in the middle of town square.
Yeah.
There is no way that the guy who's going to be like, they're trying to take away Christmas would be like, oh, that's nice, a nice little Ramadan celebration.
Yeah, right,
He'd be like, get him quick!
Yeah, I think that's the main problem I have with the thesis of the whole movie is they're like, no, you can do whatever you want as long as you're in the majority.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, good luck to you. You're allowed to do whatever you want.
Yeah.
And we will beat you up the
We're allowed to do that.
Yeah. We're allowed to do anything we can get away with.
Go out in the square, blow your Jew flute, see what happens.
Yeah, also, I don't think he would be okay with that. Shofars are loud as fuck.
Yeah, exactly. Also, this is where he tells the Hammer that he doesn't have any jurisdiction.
He's
and I
a
wrote in my
lawyer.
notes, you're right, he doesn't have any jurisdiction because he
he's
is
a
not a
lawyer.
cop. That is that is how little about the law this movie understands, is that they're like, go on, arrest me, Warren Hammerschmidt. Go on, man. Put me in cuffs, you pig. I have no idea what you're talking about. Do you know what a lawyer is? Maybe not.
Yeah.
And I love, and we get this several times in the movie, but I love that
6-inch on wheat.
that Bob says to when the Hammer says, "Hey, you can't do this; it's against the law." He's like, "Show me the law," and then they act like Warren just, "Oh, well, there's not a law or something." But I'm like, how about the First Amendment?
Show it to him.
Yeah, show him the law. I wanted so badly for him to just be like, "Oh, all right, here you go.
it's right
here you
here.
go. Here's the law." And then he's like, "Oh, well, would anyone like a pretzel?" I didn't
Credits.
realize he was actually going to show me the law. Because this is something that confused me. Is part of I don't understand the philosophy of this movie at all, because it is the worst philosophy of any movie we've ever watched. But is part of the philosophy of this movie that, like, atheists and secularists and the ACLU don't actually have a legal basis for the things that we're doing?
Yes.
Like that when you get right down to it, there's nothing in the Constitution that says you can't have a state-established religion.
They all say, because the words separation of church and state are not in the Constitution. You know, that comes from, I think, a letter from Jefferson that was written afterwards as an explanation of what they were trying to do with the Constitution. But anyway, because the word separation...
No, sorry, I hate to interrupt you, but that was actually Hitler. I read a meme on the internet the other day. Hitler invented the phrase separation of church and state. So when you say Hitler, you say separation... Sorry.
Yeah, Adolf Hitler was our third president, right? Oh no, I'm sorry. He was our 44th president, right?
Yeah. Almost. Not yet. Don't spill the beans quite yet. So now we move over to the red and black moment of the movie, where all the kids are planning this dick move we've been alluding to, in which they are going to hijack the play.
Right, which, by the way, in the planning meeting, the little girl goes, "I've never heard this story." And it's like, "Oh, you've never heard of the Christmas story?" And the girl's like, "Well, I've never read the Bible." And I'm like, "Oh, but have you been on Earth? Have you been
the
in
Christmas
America?"
story isn't in the Bible. I've read that
Also,
motherfucker.
If you've never read the Bible, what are you doing in this planning meeting?
Right?
She's just contentious. She would have done anything. They could have been like, "We're going to pour some blood on the director." She would have been like, "I'm down. Let's do it.
Yes.
Cut my thigh. I want to feel alive again. Burn me with a cigarette." I actually did write a thing. I wrote a thing later on that was like Reagan's. Trudy. Trudy is the one that was like, "It feels so wrong and feels so right."
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And I wrote, "Trudy needs to call me in 5 years."
I think I wrote, I believe Trudy's autistic. Stop making fun of her.
Right, because again, this movie takes, again, because it was written by a drunk uncle over a Thanksgiving table after he took a bottle of cognac into the closet in the kitchen for a half hour. Oh, really? Were you looking for sugar? You didn't come out with sugar. This movie has all sorts of moments where they just throw stuff in, like a character will just be like, and they all smell different. Wait, what? I don't know, man. It was in the script. But I love their little scene where they're all trying to come up with names, and it's like, Operation Jade Helm. The government shot first at Waco. Jet fuel doesn't burn that hot. I apologize. Operation Reptilians.
You've been on the internet with Bob, haven't you?
So they decide they're going to do the thing.
Wait. But before we move on, I want to say a little something about Christian children. I don't want to be too negative about Christians. Like, I have friends that are born-again Christians, and, you know, they
sounds
had
really
a drug
unpleasant.
problem or whatever, or, like, they find Christianity at some point.
I'm sorry, I want to just, I'm going to rephrase that. Christianity takes advantage of them when they're at their lowest. Continue.
Sure. Sure. But it's a good thing for some people. Not for me, not for you, but for some people, it can be a positive thing in their lives.
I vehemently disagree, but I'll let you keep talking. Go ahead.
Edit point. We're going to remix that so Micah's like, Christianity is the devil. I'll fight anyone who's a Christian. The Jews started all the wars. I gave Jared from Subway those pictures.
Rip it straight from the O'Reilly factory. We're all set.
No, I'm sorry, but you were saying.
No, it's okay. You can be wrong about your point. The point I'm trying to make is that, like, the opening montage of the kids when they're young, like, having a good Christian time is the worst. It's a real bad time. They're all like negative towards each other and like saying how like, oh, you can't sing and blah, 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 blah. And then this brainstorming session of like, they're trying to be sneaky about something that is the lamest thing I have ever heard of.
Right.
They're like, how can we be more like our parents?
Right. How can we ruin the Christmas play?
Right. Yeah.
And it's also, we're gonna ruin theater. Let's do, to make our parents proud. It's, when you're talking about, Christianity taking advantage of people at their lowest, I think this is when Christianity takes advantage of people at their lowest.
Yeah, exactly. When they're little kids and don't know any better.
When they're trying to learn about the world and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Not when people have learned about the world and they're like, the only thing that I have to, like, stabilize me is my belief in God. I have no problem with that.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm all for kicking a crutch out from underneath people. Mike is just like, I don't know, I think they really need that. No, they fucking don't.
This gold bricker walks. So now I guess the Hammer comes to have a talk with him, but he's too late because the mayor's headed out with Jim Bob to go get themselves a Christmas tree for the courthouse lawn. And so the trucker tries to keep him entertained, and apparently he needs another bump or something, or had one too many because he starts I guess comic reliefing all over the place. I don't know.
I think they probably got spoiled with the drama director. And they're like, this guy can do it.
Yeah, right.
Just drive the truck and go for it.
Oh, and this is another experience, Micah. You can relate to this one as well, which is where you have been hired to act in a film or TV show or something and improvise, and then their Uncle Dan, who got a part because he has the biggest car and loaded all the props into it, has also been told to improvise. So you're like, hey, Uncle Dan, and he's like, I have a gun, give me a blowjob. That's what I assume this harmonica scene is for that director.
It was 90% I have a gun, give me a blowjob, and they just edited together him singing these songs in the harmonica. It's like, all right, we'll take it again. God, we're burning through film like madness. All right, so no guns, no blowjobs. We got all we want you to do is improvise some Christmas songs.
Oh, look at me. I'm Britney Spears. Fuck me in the ass. God damn, man.
God, man, when he gets the spirit, he really gets the spirit. Oh boy.
Oh shit.
What do you guys think it was actually like to work on this project? Like if you're part of the grip staff, or like if you're one of the extras, you're like, what the hell?
Like,
What is going on?
You're chuckling again, Noah, that we can see the boom when you chuckle. Quit laughing at the dialogue. And then we cut over to the mission, which we've talked about, but we haven't seen. And this is where we learn that Hill Valley or whatever has a terrible homelessness problem.
Right. There are 9 people in the town, but there are 25 homeless people in this mission.
Now I see why they're so pissed about him spending money on all these Christmas decorations. It's like, invest in the fucking economy, bro.
Maybe the mayor spent some time at the soup kitchen instead of renting large construction equipment for decorations for him to operate himself.
The mom is helping this mute homeless woman into a coat, which is, by the way, like a fur coat. It's not like a stay warm in winter coat. It's like, I'm ready for my close-up, Mr. DeVille. So she puts her in this fur coat, and then she hugs her and whispers in her ear, Jesus loves you.
Yeah.
I wanted the woman so bad to whisper back, I'm Jewish.
I'm a Hindu bitch.
Having a great fiscal quarter, but yeah, I don't know. It's weird.
And now there was also a real interesting line here where the hot mom asked the grandma, she's like, does Bob blame me for his son dying?
And the answer is yes.
Yeah,
yes,
more or less. Yes.
He has a hard time with emotions. Doesn't exactly know where to put them. He just tends to ride his motorcycle when he should be in therapy.
And look at his sadness box. Oh, and then she gets the letter at the last second where we find out that the health department is going to shut down the mission because of Christmas.
And it's another one of these moments in this movie where they're like, oh yeah, because the ACLU has power over the health department, which has power over the veterans home, which is, it's just all one giant government that's coming down on this little town for their fucking Christmas tree.
Yeah, exactly. He can pull all the strings from his office.
But here's the interesting thing. If this is not I lived in a universe in which that was not related, and so they just had terrible health standards, like rats were eating into the coats they were giving to the homeless people, and they were like, can you believe they're gonna shut down the mission? Yeah, that lady died of diphtheria. Well, that's not the point. It's not the point. She's fine now. No, she's dead. Well, she's fine with Jesus.
And then we cut to the part we've all been waiting for. This is the first rehearsal for the ritual to resurrect L. Ron Hubbard that is their winter play.
Oh, yeah, here we go.
And
where he does the Plutonia.
Yeah, exactly. So they're doing this weird dance number with this weird music, the weird chirping or whatever.
Weird or brilliant?
And now there's this great moment that I absolutely fucking love. Okay, so they're still trying to figure out how they're going to pull off this illegal hijacking of this public school play. And the janitor has this, he's fucking with this door in this closet, and he's going, oh boy, does this door lock really tight such that one might easily become trapped within it for an extended period of time if one were to accidentally get into it.
Door keeps sticking, sticky door. It was like Michigan J. Frog. Like, foreshadowing a sticky door. What? Ribbit. Nothing.
In my mind, that's how this janitor talks to himself whenever he janitors. So he's just downstairs. Damn radiator burns hot, full of fire, heats up water, goes into the pipes, warms the building. Ain't no law says the radiator ain't allowed in school. No one asked you about that, man. All right, just checking. I was in Nam. Literally,
just saying
this
the
character
that I see. And also, okay, so Bob's put up his big Christmas tree out on the front lawn here. And apparently all the atheists have gathered for a no Christmas protest, just like in nowhere, ever.
With Fred Williamson smoking his evil cigar menacingly toward the camera.
And there could not be less of I know it's supposed to be the intention of the movie that, like, there's so few atheists because it's just a few soreheads, but this could not be a less enthusiastic atheist protest. It's just like 3 people with their uppity glasses being like, we can read. we can read.
And now we cut over to a town hall meeting, but first we get this creepy little bit where Bob and the Hammer run into each other in the men's room. And from the way they're talking, I expected the Hammer to rape him.
Yeah, absolutely. I was like, oh, this is going to be unforgivable all over again. Fight back, Jodie Foster.
But he didn't, unfortunately. They just did the colored bubbles speech from Runaway Jury, and then they moved on.
Big letdown.
And this is when Mayor, he comes into the Hammer comes into the meeting and says, you have overstepped your boundaries. And literally, like the joke I made about the earlier scene, he goes, you did. You.
He actually says it back to him.
Quite literally, I know you are,
overstepped.
but what am I? Is the literal script of this movie.
Yeah, the whole scene is like angry black guy versus calm white guy saying the same thing, only softly.
Yes,
like,
exactly.
You have overstepped your boundaries. You have overstepped your boundaries, and I'm calmer than you are. Like, you're taking the law into your own hands, motherfucker. You, my good man, have taken the law into your own hands, and I'm very relaxed and confident.
Right.
And I also want to point out that while Bob is justifying his Christmas theocratic takeover or whatever, he says that would be like not honoring Christopher Columbus on Columbus Day. Like, yes,
right.
Yeah.
Yes, it would. It would be
Correct.
like
Yes.
that.
Which would be a
He
good
was like,
idea.
what would we call it?
he's
Great
awful.
Explorers Day? And it'd be like, yeah, I mean, we could start by talking about some great explorers as opposed to a failed Spaniard who died in bankruptcy and wanted to enslave everyone he found when he was lost at sea.
Yeah,
That would be fine.
It's tough to go bankrupt as a slave trader. That's depressing.
Yeah. That's like if I got lost in the Bronx and I was just like, we could kill all these people.
Modern day Columbus. So, and then Hammer pulls out his, he's got his trump card. He goes, well, I obtained a directive from the judiciary. It's like, why don't you just say I got a court order, motherfucker?
I got a court order. I have a court order. At which point, the protagonist of this movie tries to hit him. In response to a court order. Yeah. The protagonist of this film is like, I'll fucking kill you, N-word. And it's like, oh, all right. If Bob had called Hammer the N-word at one point in this movie, we wouldn't be like, that's so out of character for him.
I think he did with his eyes and subtext.
Yes, exactly.
He goes, I have in my hand a court order that says I can demolish your Christmas tree with a medium-grade explosive if I want to. And he was like, you did what? Hold me back. No, seriously. He's enormous. Hold me back. You did what? You did what?
Them black fellers can fight. Yeah, so apparently separation of powers is un-American. Fuck the judiciary. And then we go back to our weird little Scientology ritual rehearsal, where they're singing a secularized version of Silent Night.
Which is totally fine, by the way.
Right.
The version of Silent Night they're thinking is like, Winter Night. And I was literally sitting there and I wrote in my notes, this is nice. This is a nice little song about winter.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Round Yon Snowman. I liked it.
I think we can all agree secular Silent Night with aliens and snow leprechauns is a way better song. Yes, no question.
Song doesn't count unless it's about a 16-year-old rape victim who lies to her husband. This alien better lie to its husband about getting fucked or else I'm not fucking watching this school play anymore.
Also, it's the same melody. It's a great song.
Yeah, it is.
Silent Night is a wonderful
It's a
song.
beautiful tune, yeah.
Even in German, in English, and even with this new writing, it doesn't matter what you're saying. That melody is the shit.
See, this is why all Jewish songs are terrible, so no one ever changes the words. They're all just like, bye, 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 45 more minutes. Bye, 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 bye. This is why everyone tries to kill us. That's where anti-Semitism starts, guys. The neighbors of Jews just being like, really? Anything? Have you heard any music in the last 85 million years? The ancient Sumerians had like bongos and stuff. What Jewish instruments have you heard of? None. The Jews came up with no Bye, God, bye, God, bye, bye, so expensive. Bye, bye.
Hey, that David could wail on the fucking harp, bro.
That's true.
So, and then we cut back to the kids, like, finalizing their plans for their play takeover. And at one point, they're going like, do you think the audience will like it? Do you think they'll understand that it's all about peace and love and joy? It's like, no, they're probably going to think that you kidnapped the drama teacher and fucking hijacked the play.
Right. I wrote in my notes, Trudy might be retarded, guys. Let's take this seriously.
Yeah, exactly.
Because Trudy's asking questions that make me worry about her. Everyone else is like, great, so you'll secure the curtains, you'll get the light box. Trudy, what are you going to do? Breathe through my nose. All right. Good stuff, Trudy.
Oh, shit. Yes, inspired by Bob's bravery, all the neighborhood kids have banded together to stage a theocratic takeover of their school. But as we know, what goes up must come down unless it breaks orbital velocity, is too light to be captured by Earth's atmosphere, or is Jesus. So as the hammer slowly draws his plans against them, we'll take a quick break. But before we do, I want to give Act 3 the hard sell. Will America freedom Jesus? Will Jesus freedom America? Will freedom? Find out the Jesus to America questions and freedom when we Jesus back for Act Freedom of America Jesus.
This is the hammer. I disembarked on this present excursion with the expectation of obtaining a coalescent discus of bovine comestible accompanied by a substantial receptacle of sacchariferous libations.
Yes, sir. Would you like fries with that?
Hey, son. I was just recording to tell you that I love you. I was thinking today about freedom and what freedom...
Man, what are you doing?
Oh, I was just sending a message home to my wife and kid.
We're in an active war zone. Like, you can see us in the shot behind you now. Now is literally the worst time possible for you to be doing that.
Well, we had some downtime, and I thought I would just, make a
video on a camcorder to send to your wife and unborn child?
Yeah, well, yes.
I mean, how do you even have that? That seems unwieldy and fragile.
Oh, it is, very much so, yeah.
And then you mail the tapes home?
Yes, I do.
I mean, you don't just mail tapes with our location command on them, right?
Yes?
Sir, the enemy has found us.
Damn it, man!
I died for freedom.
And despite the felonious Halloween decorations on my house, we remain unincarcerated for the exciting conclusion of the last ounce of sanity. And while Bob's convictions remain unwavering, it would appear that the good people of Mount Columbus elected a bunch of Judas Iscariots to the city council, because we learn in the next scene that those bastards have decided to turn their backs on Christmas.
Yeah, and we basically, so they have decided to not do Christmas? Like, what are we supposed to believe they decided?
So the council is sitting there and they're going, federal funding for veterans or keep the Jesus statue up? Veterans, Jesus statue. Tough choice.
And Bob is like, Jesus statue, guys! Fucking Jesus statue! Aren't you a veteran? Not the point. Jesus statue. Jesus statue. He's trying to start a USA chant by himself.
Jesus statue.
USA.
Jesus
Shut up, Bob.
statue.
USA. Bob, holding up both your hands doesn't mean you get 2 votes. I'm the mayor.
That's what I want. And, of course, we cut over to Grandma's Christmas party, but no one came to the party because she didn't write holiday on the cards, that bitch.
Right. So instead they invite all of the homeless people to their party. And I wanted so badly a montage of just homeless people fucking on their beds and stealing their shit and crapping in the corners. This was a mistake. We should have just not
taken everything out of the fucking...
Somebody upper deckered us. That's just...
Yeah.
Why would you?
Yeah, you don't want the homeless people hanging out at the pharmacist's house, generally speaking. But apparently...
Honey, have you seen any of my prescription pads? No.
Not a goddamn one now that you mention it. But I'll tell you what, if anything is going to turn on a couple of Christians, it's going to be a bunch of homeless people trying to get shelter on Christmas Eve, apparently, because this gets hot mom and cop so fucking pants smoking here that they run into the kitchen, and I think they were going to fuck right there in the kitchen, except the phone rang.
Oh yeah, no, there's no question that we were a 2-minute cutscene away from this turning into graphic pornography.
Guys, that was not the subtext of this scene.
He wanted to marry her.
I wonder what would have happened if people had shown up to their Christmas party and then the homeless people came and were like, hey, you said we could come over. No. People showed up. I said it was contingent that nobody came.
Everyone was just late. You can wait outside. Whatever food we don't finish is all yours. Jesus loves you.
You belong out here.
With your smudgy homeless faces.
that was like classic Dickens. Like, okay, how can we differentiate these white people from these white people?
Make them chimney
I
sweep.
got
coal
a bunch
miners.
of charcoal.
Stop drilling, you've hit gold. You had me at I've got a bunch of.
The backstory is they're working with coal all the time.
Oh.
And so the phone call that the cock-blocking phone call in question is from the town that wants to let everybody know that apparently they've just pulled Bob's Christmas tree down like it was the statue of Saddam Hussein.
Yes, exactly. I wrote in my notes, this is not a safe way to take down a Christmas tree.
It's just
Nor
a
is this
fucking
how
chain
things
around
work.
it.
It gets pulled down amidst several explosions, as far as I can tell from the CGI. And also, let's just assume for a second that you remove trees like that. It's clearly not, but the chain that you attach to a truck to then pull a tree down, it needs to be longer than the height of the tree, or else it kills the guy in the truck when it falls.
All right, now here's the deal, Steve. You're going to have to drive real fucking fast because this thing is coming down on top of you. I do not know how long the hypotenuse of this triangle is. I did not pay attention in math. What I know is that if you don't go fast enough, you will be crushed by a giant tree.
You got to beat 9.8 meters per second squared or you're fucked.
This is the least realistic taking down of a tree I've ever seen. They might as well have shot it down with a Black Hawk helicopter. That's so... Pew, pew. The Hammer has his own helicopter.
That's right.
Also, the Hammer puts out one of the angels like a cigarette. He just he squishes his foot into it. And if I know anything about lawyers, is they have a strong emotional connection to every case that they work.
Yes.
They really, really take it to heart. And so he's just going to grind this angel into the sidewalk.
I wrote in my notes, take that, you fucking angel.
He kills it like Lord Farquhar trying to torture the gummy bear buttons off the fucking gingerbread man in Shrek. It's just a scene where he waterboards that angel.
Also,
And then we learn that he got fired from being mayor.
yeah, well, he got swift-boated. The fucking headline in the newspaper says, fraud, mayor, not a war hero.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, but you don't stop being a war hero if, like, one thing you did, like, we're about to find out that one of his missions didn't work when he was back in Vietnam. Mm-hmm. It's not like batting average, like a Hall of Fame situation, and then you get removed from the Hall because they found out you were...
Fuck A-Rod, he could never hit it when he needed it.
Exactly. Also, another weird thing about that part of the movie where it's like he's not a hero because his mission didn't go wrong. The only person who survived the mission that went wrong is the janitor. So are we supposed to believe the janitor is the one who called the paper and was like, hey, just so you know, he fucked up one time.
Well, this is a world where when you are in war, you are a war hero, and that means you can do everything. So if you are not a war hero, then that means you can't do anything.
I see.
And
That actually makes sense in the logic of this film, yeah.
This is why John McCain's not a hero.
Yeah, exactly. See, now, Ben Carson explained that if he had been captured by the Viet Cong, he would have told them to capture someone else, and then they would have... No, you want that guy over there. So the,
like it's a Bugs Bunny cartoon?
yeah.
Exactly, yeah. Why, I'm just a little old lady. You must be looking for a gentleman.
He would have been a very pretty Viet Cong soldier, and they would have been like, oh! He switched himself for a bomb. That Ben Carson.
No. I work for Ho Chi Minh.
Whatever you do, don't look in that box over there.
So then he has this confession scene with his wife where he's trying to tell the story of the mission that went wrong. And this is like if they listen, I don't know anything about the military, obviously. So this is like I had written this scene because he was like, we had to get to the extraction point and be extracted. But then we hit a tripwire and there were bombs explosions. That was bad. Then also
Flares.
guns were there. Everyone died, not me. That's what happened.
And now we get the money shot of the movie, which is Bob not knowing how pulleys work. So
Right.
he's tied a rope to the giant cross, and he's pulling it up. And it's not like a really big cross, so he could probably have just carried it up the stairs and lowered it down. Would have been easier.
That's not nearly as dramatic, though.
No, exactly. So we get this very dramatic
Pivot.
him pulling the fucking thing up with a rope. And apparently, by the way, ain't nothing going on in Mount Columbus because like 5 different news stations have sent affiliates to Bob yanking a fucking cross up the side of a mission.
I'm picturing a lot of people that died in a fire while a bunch of fire trucks had to deal with this idiot mayor on the roof.
Yeah,
somewhere in that town.
right.
I mean, within the world of this, there's so many things that could have gone wrong that, like, if he had dropped the cross, that's the end of it.
Oh, shit.
If, you know, like, that would have been, like, just within the world, just like, oh, I was kind of a
Yeah.
jerk. I'm sorry, I dropped the cross on one of the homeless people. And also,
The mom runs down and whispers in her ear, Jesus loves you. It doesn't feel like it.
and this is a point where you've got tons of extras here. You've got this is not a skeleton crew that's working on this thing. There's literally hundreds of people here to listen to this speech that this guy's making. And even in context, I was like, this guy's crazy.
Yes.
John Galt radio.
Yes,
combo.
in his Braveheart freedom speech, there's just a couple moments I want to touch on. He says, people are coming like a thief in the night for our freedom. Jesus comes like a thief in the night, not the bad guys. That's the good guy in your book comes like
Thief
a
in the
thief
night,
in the
movie
night.
game points. Nice.
Then he says the enemy is taking inches. Never talks about who that is. I assume it's the ACLU.
Yes, we're the enemy.
And then his last line of his speech is, we fight for freedom, which is directly out of Braveheart.
Yes, yes. Oh, and then, of course, after he's done all of this, they have to arrest him for felonious cross-raising. And I'm thinking the whole time, like, the cops walking out there going, like, Bob, you just needed a permit. If you'd gotten a permit, we could have done this in the day, and it wouldn't have been, like, this big deal. We wouldn't have brought the fire department out. I have to arrest you now, you dick.
I don't have time for permits. I gotta get the crane out here. I had to do all this stuff myself.
They have no employees. Hire some of these homeless people, motherfucker. Anyway.
No.
So they're about to throw him in the cop car, but the grandson stops the cop and puts the Medal of Honor on him. He's like, if you weren't a hero before, you pulled that cross up most of the way on that rope before we helped you, so you're a hero now.
Yeah, I wrote, if you weren't a hero for war stuff, you're a hero for yelling on a roof. Also, he stops a cop car. He, like, runs up and he's like, hey, wait a second. Cop cars don't do that. Cop cars don't, oh, wait, he's got something to say to him. You're thinking of a taxi.
Now, the movie could be over at this point, but it refuses. So now we go to the newscaster. But keep in mind, this is a newscaster who is not a character in the movie. She's not even the newscaster that's been, like, talking about stuff, because there is a newscaster that's been talking about stuff repeatedly in the movie, but it's not her. She's the anchor that they cut back to after. I don't know that this woman has had a spoken line in the entire fucking movie.
Oh, at all.
No.
At all.
So, like, we see the thing, the wrap up with the news. Oh, well, there's the grandpa is a hero after all, and he's fuck the Grinch and blah, blah, blah. And back to you guys. And we go back to the fucking newscasters, the anchors, and the woman anchor just pulls her microphone off, and she's like, fuck all this shit, I'm out of here.
Yeah,
and
I wrote, fuck it, we'll do it live. Right. Which, it's the fucking craziest thing in the world that she's just, yeah, this is so not a character, and it's not a twist. There's nothing that's led us to think about this. So it's like if at the end of The Sixth Sense, Bruce Willis turned out to be the lady at the bottom of the pool. It doesn't make any fucking sense. There's nothing that led us to that.
It was really, this storyline was a good attempt, but poorly executed.
I think you're being super generous. So now we're in. We've got Bob in jail, and geriatric Aaron Ra is there. Now, keep in mind that this is a character that we've just sort of seen in the background a couple of times. That looks like, you know, Willie Nelson fucked Sam Elliott.
Yeah,
and he's in the jail cell next to him. and he's got a radio. He's got like a little Holocaust radio.
Like a gramophone.
Yeah, exactly. And he's like, well, you did the right thing, Bob. Now you can listen to the play on my radio from 1896.
At which point I wrote in my notes, how does he have radio to the Christmas play? Is the Christmas play being played over the radio?
Oh, we learned later that it was not.
No, right, exactly.
No.
He's just magical.
He has PTSD.
We know this. We know this at the end. That guy's magical.
Mm-hmm.
I could be wrong, but I think that was an attempt to like throw back to Vietnam, that little radio unit.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, that's when when his PTSD kicks in, he sees little radios like that, and everything turns back to 1960s technology.
That's why he's trying to keep himself so busy. He's got all these flashbacks. He's like, if he's alone by himself in a jail cell, he'll start seeing these guys.
There's Jimmy Two Tongues. When we used to get lonely out in the jungle, you just cuddle up next to Jimmy Two Tongues. He didn't mind. You could call him whatever name you had waiting for you back at home. Hey man, there's no one in your cell with you.
Well, thank God my family's here. Gee.
So now we cut back over to Dianetics the musical or whatever, where they're getting ready for this crazy play.
Was that an attempt to spoof Scientology? Was that the attempt or
no way? No one who was part of
serious-
this movie was smart enough
accident.
to do that.
But no, I think it was just supposed to represent, how bad and shitty everything is when you take the Jesus out of it.
Also, it's like, because it's about space, and like, scientists, all they care about is space, right? So
Yeah,
it was like,
yeah, you're right.
I don't know,
Right.
what would atheists make a Christmas thing about? I don't know, something real like space. Probably Pluto. Pluto's really cool. I bet they'd want to talk about how real Pluto is.
Plutonia.
So now Madison and whatever the friend's name is, they come on stage. So they just stand there for a really long time, and the director's getting nervous and the principal's getting nervous, and then they just start stripping on stage. Yeah. Now we know that they're like wearing like robes or whatever underneath so that they can be wise men or shepherds in the fucking Christmas pageant or whatever. But all anyone else knows is that like clearly they're not doing what they're supposed to do. The drama teacher is freaking out and the two girls start taking their clothes off. And I'm thinking, again, this could get way better if you went a different direction with it. Yeah. But instead, no, they do it.
But also, no one in the audience of this children's play objects to the kids getting naked. They're just like, no, let's see what they're doing.
right.
They appear to be taking their clothes off, but let's see what they're going to do with it.
And then the play turns into Linus's monologue from Charlie Brown's Christmas special. Right. Oh, I'm sorry. First, they fucking falsely imprison the drama teacher. They kidnap the motherfucker. This is a felony.
Yeah, they kidnap him with help from the janitor. And yes. Christian mouths to the janitor as though this movie were not racist enough. You the man.
Because he's black.
Because he's black.
Because he's the only black character that isn't the evil bad guy.
Thanks, my N-word.
Jesus Christ.
Black Panther fist.
So, all right. So now, if you were just
a shot of Christian and the janitor standing on the Olympic podium,
just facing away
with that poor Australian guy.
Yeah, all right. What the fuck's wrong with these guys? So now, just in case you were thinking to yourself, wow, staging a fucking coup and committing felonies so that you can turn a secular public school play into a proselytization for your religion, that's offensive. They haven't even gotten warmed up.
Yeah.
Goosebumps all up and down my back. Oh, man. I was so ashamed sitting alone in my apartment watching this. My skin, the hair on my arms is standing on end, and I'm like, this is ridiculous. This is so inappropriate.
It's really
I have a lot of respect for theater, and they are just trampling all over it, and my body loves it. And I think that goes to the composer again. I think he did a great job with the music.
It must have been the score because it sure wasn't the script. Holy shit. So now they're doing their little Christmas play, and Christian, who didn't want to be a part of this and now he does or whatever, steps on in the middle of this other girl's lines and starts like parroting her lines, which strikes me as an incredibly dick move, but it only seems like a dick move because I couldn't yet compare it to what he was about to do next.
Right. So he lowers the screen, right? and plugs in. Do you remember that tape from the beginning of the movie?
Oh, I think you do.
I think you do.
I think you do.
Because he's about to play it for an entire theater of families, children and adults. Children and adults. That's important. So it's a video of his dad, and his dad's like, "Oh, Carrie, I miss you." And I wanted so badly for it to turn into dirty talk, for him to be like, "Oh, I want your tongue in my ass. I'm gonna ride you like the little bitch you are.
Jesus Christ. Come on.
I'm gonna shit right onto your chest, and you're gonna eat every drop when I get home."
But what he actually
I've had
showed
nothing
them,
but hummus and falafel for 7 months.
but what he actually showed
Back
them
it up.
Don't you run from this,
worse
Micah.
than that.
Yeah, less appropriate than a Cleveland
Yes,
Steamer video. Yes.
Exactly. The actual video he played was even more inappropriate
Inappropriate.
because this is a video of his dad dying in war.
Well,
Very literally.
This is his dad in a combat zone in war. So that's the first problem. His dad, they're in a combat zone, like, apparently under attack, and his dad has chosen this moment to set up a camera and do a little fucking Skype call. As though no one would have turned to him and been like, "Hey man, now's not the time to fucking do that. Put that away. They're shooting at us." "Well, 1 second, I just want to say hi to my wife." No!
But when it ended, they got the respect of the lone soldier in the fatigues with a broken arm.
Yes, yeah, he was even
age
injured.
55. What was that all about?
That guy's backstory is so interesting to me.
Wait, so just to explain, so he's giving the message and he's like, "Freedom is worth the blah. People would be killed for celebrating Christmas here."
Yeah, so quit your bitching, Bob.
And then his unit gets hit by a rocket and he dies on camera.
Now, the camera is fine. The camera is
Camera's fine.
rocket-proof.
Oh yeah.
And
that
so is
Canon
the...
260.
Oh yeah, did you see the size of that camera? Of course it's rocket proof.
Right.
And
Like an old VCR.
And the guy, he dies with his face literally in the frame still. That was fortunate. It would have been great though if Dad said like goodbye to his secret gay lover before he dies on camera. I was waiting for something fun.
Oh, yeah,
Tommy Two Tongues, I always loved you. Fuck, Carrie.
So,
Carrie, put your panties in your mouth.
That's his last words. Put your panties in your mouth.
I'm gonna shit down your throat.
Wait, I think I missed the side story of Barry Two Tongues. He's got two tongues, and he can whisper in both your ears at the same time. And
super popular dude.
Give you peace
war.
in wartime.
So just a quick recap. Imagine that you're a member of this audience. You've gone to see your kid in a Christmas play. So already you weren't expecting to have a good time. So you get a weird Scientology ritual, a couple of girls halfway stripping, a Christmas story, a snuff film, and now instead of a slow clap, we get a slow salute. Yes, that's what's happening. The audience is now saluting them.
I really wanted that soldier to be like, stand up, slowly stand up, and go, "What did you just show us? It's Christmas Eve!
My kids are here!
A high school theater to watch a play in my fatigues with my arm sling like I do every Christmas Eve. I don't want to see this pornography."
Trigger warning, bro! Trigger warning!
I was here to see my niece dance in a space play. And instead, you showed me images of a war that I was just wounded in 4 weeks ago. I am leaving. I would like my $6 suggested donation back.
You know what? I'm going to return the half a Snickers that I ate.
That's how pissed I am now.
They show the two black extras in the audience. They agree with the death video. They think it was a little harsh, but still appropriate. And they're nodding along like, yeah, this is pretty good. White lives matter too. He's right. That's fair. That's fair. They do.
I had a little bit of an
just
issue with some of the extras acting. Because it was,
Did you?
like, if we had heard what they were saying, because I could read their lips, it was, yeah, right, yeah. Yeah. There's like every time you cut to a black extra, they were going, yeah, okay, all right. I'm one of 5 black people in this town, and yeah, I think I'm gonna move.
We approve this message. We approve this. Absolutely.
Yeah. Let me just keep nodding until I can get my U-Haul packed, and I'm out of here. Okay.
And I guess at some point during the play, the statute of limitations on illegal cross mounting expired. So now we cut back to the church, or to the jail rather, where they're letting Bob go.
Yeah, they're letting him go, and everyone is there to cheer him on, like, "Yay, you trespassed!"
Yeah, exactly.
And he has the makeup scene where he apologizes and he says, "I'm sorry, I blamed you for the Iraq War." To his daughter.
Yeah, the hot mom. Right. And then he explains to everybody that, I'm really proud of Chris. I listened to him on my magic radio here. Everybody's like, well, it wasn't broadcast on radio. And he's like, well, then geriatric R&R was Jesus.
Right.
Or something. Anyway.
And the final thing where he's in the back.
Yeah.
And then he starts glimmering.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he fucking disappears like
a vampire.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly, like a Twilight vampire in the daytime.
Yeah, he's like, I'm under a street lamp. Yeah. I walked under a street lamp. Fuck.
Yeah. Clarence, where'd you go?
Yeah, apparently they had
Can't anybody else see me? I'm on fire here.
Apparently they had money for like 8 seconds of After Effects, and damn it, they were going to use it. So, and also, by the way, why does this whole family hang out at the jail, right? So he's in the jail, and then the grandma and the daughter-in-law come to see him. And then, as he's coming out, the estranged daughter, who turns out to be that newscaster, by the way, that's what that was all about. She's the lesbian daughter that they ran off.
Didn't see that coming. What? Exciting.
Didn't see that coming because the movie gave no indication it would happen.
Oh.
Yeah, exactly.
Blew my mind right here. Mind blown.
And also, this is where the grandson shows up, too. So apparently they all just meet at the jail every Friday.
Guys, if we ever get lost, just meet at the jail. Just meet at the local jail.
Grandpa will probably be there. He has episodes.
Right.
So then they walk out, and apparently it's not just their family. The whole goddamn town is assembled at the jail to cheer and sing Christmas carols for Bob when he gets out, which would have been a real bitch if they didn't let him out until the morning. You know, those people would have been freezing.
And they sing the real Jesus-y ones this time.
Yeah, exactly.
The real Christmas songs,
no
not the ones that
leprechauns.
just mention Christmas, but they're like Christmassy Christmas.
Was Fruity Pigtails the singer?
I think that was Reagan.
Reagan?
Was she?
I think
well, one of beautiful voice.
And then the hammer comes one last time, and he's like, and the cop's like, first of all, he does not suggest that he's going to try and arrest everyone for singing Christmas songs, a thing that is so not a thing that I can't believe it even made it into the movie. But basically the cop's like, you gonna arrest everybody for
singing
Christmas songs? I thought you were against prison overcrowding.
What? Oh, shit.
It's like, you get it? You get it?
Burn.
Hold on, I just gotta arrest this Jew with the shofar first.
The war on drugs. Yeah.
By the way, that sort of mob mentality is how Jim Crow laws worked.
Right,
I don't
yes.
think, that wasn't brought up, but that's exactly how Jim
they
Crow.
cut it, but everyone ended up hanging Warren Hammerschmidt. It was a big deal. There's a whole other movie about they all murdered Warren Hammerschmidt.
Oh, dude, we need to make a prequel and a sequel.
No, he gets curb stomped. Yeah.
And then, of course, it tells you to go to standusa.com.
Not a website.
Nope. That is a 404 error, y'all.
There is a Facebook group.
Oh, is there?
Yeah.
You moved it over to the high-tech stuff?
So facebook.com/standusa. The last post was just after Mitt Romney lost the election.
It is with a heavy heart that I announce.
Yeah, and it's something like, we need to keep this going. This is a great message. And then nothing for
3 years.
And then nothing. And then their Wix account expired and they were like, fuck it. Let's use that money for our Trump 2016.
Yeah, exactly. Save up. So, Mike, as you may or may not know, we're dead set against so many stars type rating systems on this show. So in lieu of that, to close this off, I want to ask you, and this might be the wrong question. I prepared this question before I realized how much you enjoyed this film, but what is the meanest thing that you would do to a complete stranger rather than watch this movie again?
Oh, the meanest thing? Oh man,
It'd probably be pretty nice, honestly.
Yeah, probably whisper something as the character Gary Two Tongues into one ear while giving them a wet willy with the other. And this movie got 1.5 stars on Netflix. I think that's wrong. It deserves 2.
I was going to say, now keep in mind, there is no 0 stars, so 1 is the lowest it can be. It got half a star.
I understand that. It got,
okay.
Yeah, so it deserves more than it's got on Netflix. There are some glaring holes in the entire project, but there are some redeemable qualities. A lot of the acting is good. A lot of the cinematography is good. The soundtrack is fine. 2 stars out of 5.
I would agree with at least 2 of the things that you said there. Also, the mom was super hot. All right, Heath, same question. Meanest thing you'd do to a stranger rather than watch this movie again?
All right. I guess if a stranger walked up to me on the street and asked me for the time, I'd kick his baby. Yeah. If it didn't mean I have to watch the movie again, I'd kick his baby. I don't mean to hurt the child, but like a punt and a fair catch. Yeah, he's fine. I'd kick his baby lightly.
It's like a hacky sack kick.
You guys voluntarily watch a crappy movie every week, and then you answer this question?
We get paid to do it. I didn't bring that up before because I was afraid you'd want to cut, but we get paid for this.
Yeah.
Fine. I look forward to my residuals in 6 to 9 months.
Yeah, exactly. We don't get paid much or anything.
You got that Heineken money, Micah. You back down.
And Eli, meanest thing you do to a stranger?
I've done a lot of really mean stuff to strangers for fun, so I feel like this is a bad metaphor when it comes to me. I would dress up like a soldier and just randomly knock on doors and watch widows and army lives just start weeping on the other side of the door. And then when they opened it, I'd be like, "Can I use your bathroom? I have to take a shit so bad." You thought your husband was dead? I don't know. He could be. I'm not here to tell you he's dead, but while I take a shit in your bathroom, I want you to think about the fact that he could be.
You guys are the reason people hate atheists.
You have no idea. Well, Michael, congratulations. You made it to the end. You deserve a cookie. So have yourself a cookie. But before we let you go, tell us, if our audience wanted to fill their ear holes and possibly eye holes with more of your wit and hilarity, where might they go to find it?
My website is micahsherman.com, and I have a new album which features God, Satan, and Louis Armstrong.
I've heard of all of them.
Satchmo.
It's a sketch comedy album called John Rogers' Idiot, and you can preview it at danandmicah.com.
Awesome. And, of course, we'll have that all linked on the show notes for this episode. All right. Well, thanks a lot for suffering alongside us, man.
It really was my pleasure.
And, well, that's going to do it for our review of Last Ounce of Courage. That's not going to do it for the episode quite yet because we still need to get you all stiff and pulsing over next week's episode. So, Eli, tell us, what's on deck?
Well, since next week is Halloween, we had to do a Halloween film, and there's no Christian Halloween film quite like The Lock-In.
Oh my fucking God.
Just so people know what they're in for, believe me, set your goddamn timers for whenever this episode comes out, because just so they know what this is in for, this is a movie that is a Christian horror film that is based on the premise that 2 kids bring a porno magazine to a church lock-in,
Analog
and
magazine.
The porno magazine
releases
demons which attack the children in the church lock-in.
Yes! All right, so if you're one of those people that likes to watch the movies along with us, all I can say is good luck. I apologize because this movie is so horrible that apparently the internet spit it back out.
Yeah.
honestly, we saw the preview. I want to thank Brendan and Tate for recommending it, but I have to give a huge thanks to Nathan because we couldn't find the damn thing anywhere, and apparently he pestered the filmmaker long enough
Good work.
to send us copies.
Some deep Googling. Some
Exactly.
deep binging. He went all the way. Lycosing, wherever.
Nathan's
you
on
get
the
this.
deep web, right, with all of Jared's pictures, and he was like, "Oh, look, the lock-in. This is for you guys. There you go."
I don't think you had Jared's pictures, Nathan. I think you're awesome.
They're 10 years old, Nathan. I know what you do. You're a monster. You're a monster, Nathan.
But a very useful monster this week because holy shit. So apparently they're trying to be the Christian Blair Witch Project, and just as apparently they're not trying very hard.
Yeah, exactly. If you ever thought to yourself, man, the tech in Blair Witch Project was way too good, then the lock-in is for you. This is basically the jump scare in the preview. The jump scare in the preview is like you got one of those Monster Maker apps. One of those like, oh, this is a concentration tab. Watch this Japanese girl talk about something, and then it like makes the scary face. That's basically what someone applied to this movie and was like, that's gonna be great, man. That's gonna be really awesome.
I think that's exactly what someone applied to this movie, yeah. So with all that to look forward to, we're going to bring episode 9 to a merciful close. Once again, a huge thanks to Micah Sherman for joining us tonight, and an enormous thanks to all the Patreon donors that help make the show go. If you'd like to count yourself among their ranks, you can make a per-episode donation at patreon.com/godawful and thereby earn early access to every episode. You can also help us out a ton by leaving a 5-star review on iTunes or by sharing the show on all your various social media platforms, or fuck it, just do both. And if you enjoy the show, be sure to check out our sibling shows, The Scathing Atheist and The Skeptocrat, available on iTunes, Stitcher, and wherever else podcasts live. If you have questions, comments, or cinematic suggestions, you can email godawfulmovies@gmail.com. All the music used in this episode was written and performed by Ryan Slotnick of Evil Giraffes on Mars and used with his permission. If you like what you hear more by following the link on the show notes to this episode. Thanks again for giving us a chunk of your life this week. For Heath Enwright and Eli Bosnick, I'm Noah Lugeons, promising to work hard to earn another chunk next week. Until then, we'll leave you with a guy from Brooklyn telling you to fuck yourself.
Fuck you.
You bring your phone everywhere. Work, school, the movies. Now you can bring it to an Xfinity store for an easy way to switch to Xfinity Mobile, a new kind of network designed to save you money. You can get up to 5 lines of talk and text included with Xfinity Internet at no extra cost, so all you pay for is data. It's never been easier to switch to Xfinity Mobile and keep the phone you love. Click here to see how. Sorry, I gotta take this. Restrictions apply. Limited to select mobile phones. Requires activation of a new line of Xfinity Mobile. Up to 5 devices per account. New Xfinity Internet customers limited to up to 2 lines pending activation of Internet service.